we are going to learn about direct current and alternating current. So far we learned about different ways to generate electricity. What are they? Using different cells. Cells and batteries generate electricity using chemical reactions. And we learn about solar cells and solar panels. They generate electricity using solar energy. And finally we discussed about dynamos. Dynamos generate electricity by rotating or moving. And what is this part? Direct current and alternating current. Do you remember in the beginning of the lesson I mentioned that when we consider electric current, there are two different types of currents, direct current and alternating current, right? So very simply we call it DC and AC. So we are going to learn about this DC and AC now. So in order to understand this one, we are going to do a simple experiment. So experiment, studying what happens when a dry cell and a dynamo is connected to a motor, right? So what do we need here? We need a dry cell, we need a small fan and some pieces of wire and a dynamo. We'll write. Small fan, pieces of wire and dynamo. You can even use the dynamo model for this activity, right? So dry cell, small fan, pieces of wire and dynamo. So we will see how to do this activity. Method. Look at these two pictures, children. I told you when you draw pictures, it's really easy to understand, right? So what is this? This is a dry cell and this is the motor. This is the small fan, right? And this is the dynamo, motor and the small fan, okay? So what do you have to do first? I will label them as A and B, right? Connect the dry cell to the small DC motor as given in diagram A, right? Dry cell should be connected to the motor and you have to observe how this fan rotates. Understand? Fit the small fan to the motor and record the observations. And then connect the dynamo instead of the dry cell. You have to remove the dry cell and you have to connect this setup, this motor and the fan to the dynamo or the dynamo model, right? So connect the dynamo instead of the dry cell as given in diagram B. Okay, record the observations. Each time you have to record the way the motor, way this fan rotates. Now we will do this activity. Right, children. Now we are going to study the concept of direct current and alternating current. Here I have the dynamo. We already used dynamo before. And I have a motor and a dry cell. Right. First of all, I am going to connect this motor to the dry cell and observe what happens. We already did this experiment before. You all know that this will start rotating. Right. So you can see this motor starts rotating when we connect the two terminals to the dry cell to the same direction. Right, children? What will happen if I change the terminals? It will start rotating to the opposite direction. Now I am going to connect these two terminals of this motor to the dynamo. Check what happens with the rotation of the motor, children. And does it rotate, children? You all can see it's not rotating, but it's only vibrating. A slight movement is there. It's a type of vibration. Okay, children? So when I connect this motor to the dry cell, it rotates properly But when I connect it to the dynamo and rotate this wheel, what happens? It does not rotate, but instead it vibrates. Why does this happen, children? This happens because of there are two different types of electric currents called direct current and alternating current. What is the meaning of direct current, children? Direct current always flows to the same direction. When we consider this dry cell, it generates an electric current which flows to the same direction. Understand? But when we consider this dynamo, it generates an electric current which alternates the direction each time. At one point it flows to one direction and at another point it flows to the opposite direction. So that is why even though this motor starts to rotate, at one point it starts to rotate to one side, but because of the change of direction of electric current, then it starts to rotate to the opposite direction. That is why it doesn't show the proper rotation when we connect it to the bicycle dynamo. So after doing this experiment, it's very clear that there are two different types of electric currents. What are they, children? Direct current and alternating current. Right, children? So it was very clear what happened when we were doing this activity, right? So what happened when you connect this dry cell to the motor? The small fan rotates nicely. But what happened when you connected the dynamo to the motor? Did the fan rotate? No, it only vibrated, right? So when you connect the fan and the motor to the dry cell, it rotates. But when you connect it to the dynamo, it doesn't rotate, but instead it vibrates, right? We will write. When the dry cell is connected to the motor with fan, the fan rotates. Next one. When the dynamo is connected to the motor with fan, what happens? It doesn't rotate, but it vibrates. With fan, the fan vibrates, which means no rotation. Okay? When the dry cell is connected to the motor with fan, the fan rotates. When the dynamo is connected to the motor with fan, the fan vibrates. It means no rotation. Why does this happen? What is the conclusion? What actually happens here? There are two different types of electric currents. What are they? Direct current and alternating current, right? So actually when you consider this direct current, it flows to the same direction with time. It doesn't change the direction. So when you consider this dry cell generates this specific electric current which flows to the same direction. So without any disturbance, this fan can rotate. But when you consider this bicycle dynamo, what happens? It does not produce this direct current. It generates a specific electric current that changes the direction with time. Therefore, one time this fan tries to rotate to one direction, but as the dynamo changes the direction of the electricity, what happens? Next time it tries to rotate to the other direction, right? So because of this fan does not rotate, it only vibrates. Understand? We will write that. Conclusion: the electric current generated by dry cells flows to one direction. We are going to learn this as direct current or DC. Direct current. And the next one, the electric current generated by dynamos. Changes the direction with time. This is called alternating current. Understand? Conclusion. The electric current generated by dry cells flows to one direction. We are going to learn it as direct current. The electric current generated by dynamos changes the direction with time, and that is known as alternating current. So I hope this part is very clear now. We have another experiment to do in order to understand about this direct current and alternating current, and this is going to be the last experiment for this lesson. So what is this experiment? Observing the function of dry cells and dynamos. In the previous experiment, I explained that dry cells generate electricity that flows to only one direction. And when it comes to dynamos, dynamos generate electricity that flows to, that changes the direction with time. Okay? So observing the function of dry cells and dynamos. So what do we need here? We need dry cells and we need LED with two colors. Here we have red and green, but other colors also okay, right? LEDs with two colors, and we need a center 0 milliammeter galvanometer also correct, right? And some pieces of wire, and we need a dynamo, or even the dynamo model is fine. We will write down this one. Dry cells. LED bulbs. LED means light emitting diodes. LED bulbs. Two colors. And center 0 milliammeter or center 0 galvanometer, or even ammeter you can use. And pieces of wire. And dynamo, or the dynamo model. Dry cells, LED bulbs, center 0 milliammeter or galvanometer, or even the milliammeter, pieces of wire, and dynamo, right? We are going to see how to do this activity. Look at the method. There are three setups here. I am going to label them A, B, and C. Right. What do you have to do first? Look at this one. Connect two LEDs and the milliammeter as shown in diagram A. Look at A. You all can see two LEDs are connected like this, and the two cells are also connected, and one end of the cells are connected to the milliammeter, and the other end of the milliammeter is connected to the these two LED bulbs. Remember, when you connect these LED bulbs, you have to connect positive to negative terminals. What does it mean? You all know that when we take the LED bulb, it has two terminals. What are they? The long side is the positive terminal, short side is the negative terminal. So when you connect these two LEDs together, what do you have to do? You have to connect the negative terminal of one LED to the positive terminal of the other LED. Look at this picture. If you observe carefully, you will see. Now, if you consider this red LED, this is the short side, this is the long side, right? If you consider this green LED, the long side of the green LED is connected to the short side of the red LED. It means positive terminal of the green LED is connected to the negative terminal of the red LED. Understand? That is how you have to connect it, right? And then those two ends one end you have to connect to the dry cells, the other end you have to connect to the milliammeter. And observe what happens. You will see one of these LED will light up. Only one of these LED will light up, right? And milliammeter indicator will move to one direction. You have to observe what is the direction of the movement of the indicator and what is the bulb that illuminates, right? So connect two LEDs and the milliammeter as shown in diagram A. Connect two dry cells to X and Y ends. Look at this. To X end, the positive terminal, to Y end, negative terminal. You all can see it clearly, right? Record the observations. Then what do you have to do? You are not going to change any of these LED bulbs or milliammeter. Instead, you are going to change the sides of the dry cells or terminals of the dry cells. Look at this one. Earlier, this side up is X, bottom Y. Now Y is up and bottom X. Right? Positive, negative terminals are changed. Right? Now change the terminals of the dry cells shown in diagram as shown in diagram B. And now record the observations. You will see earlier one LED lights up or illuminates, the other LED does not illuminate. This time you will see the LED bulb that did not illuminate before will illuminate this time, and the LED bulb that illuminated in the first instance, it will not illuminate this time. It doesn't light up. And what will happen to the milliammeter indicator? Now earlier in A, you will see milliammeter indicator will move to one direction. This time the milliammeter indicator moved to the opposite direction. Those are the things that you are going to observe. Right? And next one, instead of the dry cells, third instance, C, you are going to remove the entire dry cells. Instead, you are going to set a dynamo and rotate it. If you connect a normal dynamo, you have to manually rotate this part. So instead of the dry cells, connect the dynamo to X and Y ends like diagram C. Right? Record the observations. Record what happens here. When you rotate the dynamo, what happens? Right? We will do this activity now. Okay, children. By now you all know that based on the direction of flow of electricity, there are two different types of electric currents. They are direct current and alternating current. So we are going to do this experiment to understand that better. So here I have an ammeter, a dynamo, two LEDs of two colors and a battery with two cells. So here I have connected these two LEDs in a special way. The positive terminals of this blue color LED is connected to the negative terminal of the green color LED. Okay. So I am going to connect this red color wire to the positive terminal of the battery and the black wire to the negative terminal. You have to see what happens to the two LED bulbs and the indicator of the ammeter. So you all can see only the blue color LED illuminates but not the green one. Now you can see earlier the indicator of the ammeter is at 0. But when I connect it to the terminals, you can see there's a slight deflection. Okay, children? So it's clear now. So why does this happen, children? Why can't we light this green color LED at the same time? That is because when we consider these batteries, they generate electricity to the same direction. It means direct current is generated by these batteries. Okay, children. So here the electricity flows from positive terminal to the negative terminal through the entire circuit. So what is the circuit here? Starting from this positive terminal, the electricity flows through this entire circuit and coming back to the negative terminal. Understand, children? So that is why when we connect the positive terminal of this LED to the positive terminal of the battery, only that one illuminates. This one doesn't illuminate. That is because the negative terminal of the LED is connected to the positive terminal of the battery. Understand? So if you do not connect the terminals of the LED properly, it will not illuminate. Now I am going to change the terminals. So I am going to connect this red wire to the negative terminal and black wire to the positive terminal of the battery. Right, now you all can see clearly what happens, children. This green color bulb illuminates. Okay, so here what happens? Electricity flows toward the opposite direction. Now electricity flows out through the black color wire. Right, so you can see this is the positive terminal of the battery. So electricity flows through this black wire and through the ammeter. It comes through the positive terminal of the LED to the negative terminal of this battery. Understand, children? So it's very clear. Direct current is generated through this electric battery. That is why to only one direction electricity flows. Okay. So is there another way that we can light both the LEDs at the same time, children? We will see. I am going to remove this battery and this time I am going to connect these two wires to the dynamo. So in order to generate electricity in this dynamo, we have to rotate this. See what happens, children. Observe carefully what happens. Look at the ammeter indicator, children. You can see it moves to the either side. If I rotate this slowly, you can see this green color bulb and blue color bulb illuminate alternately. If I increase the speed of rotation, you can see the way they illuminate. Right. So why does this happen, children? Earlier, when we connect these wires to this battery, what happened? Only this indicator moves to one direction. Okay. And here what happens when you rotate this one, it moves to either side. Why does this happen? That is because, as I explained you before, this battery generates electricity which moves to only one direction. Okay, that is known as direct current. And at the same time, when you consider the dynamo generates electricity which is known as alternating electricity. So alternating electricity changes the direction alternately, time to time. Understand, children? So when I rotate this one time electricity flows to one direction and the other time electricity flows towards the other direction. So I hope this one is very clear now. Right, children. So it was very clear what happened when we were doing the activity. Do you remember what happened now? Remember, So in A, when you connect the setup like this, only one LED lights up and the millimeter indicator moves to one direction. And the second instance, when we change the terminals of the dry cells, what happens? The LED bulb that illuminates earlier, it doesn't light up this time, but the other LED that did not light up before, it illuminates this time, right? And what happens to the millimeter indicator? It moves to the opposite direction, right? So when you remove these dry cells and when you connect a dynamo to this setup, what did you observe? The two LEDs with two colors, they illuminate or they light up alternately, right? And what happens to the millimeter indicator? It moves to opposite direction, right, to either side constantly, right? It was very clear. So we are going to write the observations now. So observations in setup A. Millimeter indicator moves to or deflects to, moves to one direction and only one LED illuminates. And setup B, what happens? This time millimeter indicator what happens, children? Moves to the opposite direction. Moves to the opposite direction. And the LED bulb that did not illuminate before illuminates this time, and the LED bulb that illuminated first time, it does not illuminate this time, right? It changes. So the LED that did not illuminate in the first instance illuminates this time. The other LED doesn't illuminate. So setup C. See what happens. Millimeter indicator moves to either side continuously. It means it keeps on changing the direction of movement, right? And what happens to the LEDs? The two LED bulbs illuminate alternately. Right, children? In setup A, millimeter indicator moves to one direction only one LED illuminates, lights up. In setup B, millimeter indicator moves to the opposite direction this time, and the LED that did not illuminate in the first instance, which means here only one LED illuminates, the other one doesn't, right? The LED that did not illuminate in the first instance illuminates this time. The other LED does not illuminate, which means the LED that illuminated in the first time does not illuminate this time, right? And setup C, millimeter indicator moves to either side continuously, keeps on changing the direction. And the two LED bulbs illuminate alternately, right? I explained you the reason for these observations as well, right children? So what is the reason? Do you remember the reason that I explained you during the experiment? This happens because there are two different types of electric currents called direct electric currents or direct current and alternating current. So when you consider dry cells, they provide the direct current. Direct current means current that flows to only one direction. So what happens? You all know that when you consider dry cells, to which direction that electricity flows? Electricity flows from positive to negative terminal through the circuit, right? So if you consider, now this is the positive side, this is the negative side of the dry cells. So what is the direction of flow of electricity? To this direction, right children? And why only one LED illuminates in the first instance? That is because I told you that LED has two terminals, positive and negative terminals. Only if you connect the positive terminal of the LED to the positive terminal of the dry cell, it will illuminate. So here I told you positive terminal of one LED is connected to the negative terminal of the other LED. So when you consider this direction, only one LED is connected correctly. Only that LED will light up at this time, right? So, and the other observation, the millimeter indicator, based on this direction of the flow of electricity in the first instance, the indicator will deflect. What happens in the second instance, right? The same dry cells are there, but this time the directions are changed. It means the terminals are changed. Now this side negative, this side positive. This time what is the direction of electric current? It is through the circuit and through the millimeter. This is the direction towards this side. Earlier it is towards this side, right? So direct current is provided, only one direction is there at a time, right? So this time when terminals are connected like this, positive to negative terminals through the circuit, this is the direction. So here also, when you consider how these LED bulbs are connected, even in this instance, only one LED bulb is connected correctly, right? So if according to this picture, look at this particular picture, you can see this is the positive terminal of the cell, and you can see this is the long side, this positive terminal of the, this is the positive terminal of the green LED, negative terminal of the green LED, and positive terminal of the green LED is connected to the negative terminal of the red LED. It means actually positive terminal of the green LED is connected to the positive terminal of the cell, negative terminal of the red LED is connected to the positive terminal of the cell. But actually, in order to light this up, you have to connect the positive terminal of the LED to the positive terminal of the cell correctly. Only green one is connected correctly. Therefore, only green one will light up according to this picture. So, when you consider this picture, this is the positive side, this is the negative side. You can see positive terminal of green LED is connected to the negative terminal of the cell, right? But you can see when you consider the other side, positive terminal of the red LED is connected to the positive terminal of the cell. This time red one is connected properly. Therefore, green one will not illuminate, but the red bulb will illuminate. Understand? Right? This is the reason only one LED illuminates at a time. Right? So, what will happen? I told you the direction of current changes. It moves to the opposite direction. Therefore, millimeter indicator also will move to the opposite direction. Understand? Right? So, when you consider this C, setup C, I already explained you, this is a dynamo. Dynamo generates electricity and that particular electric current changes the direction with time, right? So it changes, it keeps on changing the direction. When we rotate the dynamo, what happens? It generates electricity, but it doesn't have a definite direction. It changes the direction with time. So one time it moves to one direction, at that time one LED will illuminate and milliamp indicator will move to one direction, and the next time it changes, this direction of the electricity changes, and that particular time the other LED will illuminate and milliamp indicator will move to the opposite direction. This is why when we rotate this dynamo, these LED bulbs, they illuminate alternately and this millimeter indicator also moves to either side continuously. Understand? So we will write the conclusion now. So what is the conclusion? We will write down. What about the dry cells? Dry cells generate electricity. Dry cells generate electricity that flows to one direction, and dynamos generate electricity that changes the direction, alternately. Dry cells generate electricity that flows to one direction, and dynamos generate electricity that changes the direction alternately. Right? So this is known as direct current and this is known as alternating current, DC and AC. Understand? Right. So discuss the answers for the following questions. We will go through them. Why only one LED illuminates and the indicator of millimeter deflects only in one direction in all instances when dry cells are connected? We discuss the answer. Because dry cells generate electricity and it flows to the same direction, to only one direction. Right? We will write because the electricity, the electric current generated by dry cells flows to one direction. Understand? Because the electric current generated by dry cells flows to one direction. Next one. discuss the reason why two LEDs illuminate alternately and the direction of the movement of milliammeter indicator changes constantly when dynamo is connected in rotating. What happens? We discussed this one as well. That is because these dynamos generate electricity and it changes the direction alternately, right? We will write because the electric current generated by dynamos changes the direction alternately. Because the electric current generated by dynamos changes the direction alternately, right? So this is direct current, DC, and this is alternating current or AC. Understand, children? So here the same information. The current that flows to one direction is known as direct current or DC. So what are the types of appliances that generates direct current? All types of electrical cells and batteries. Solar cells, dry cells, simple cells and different batteries, they generate direct current, right? All types of electrical cells and batteries generate direct current. Understand? The current that changes the direction with time, changes the direction alternately, right, is known as alternating current, AC. And what are the instances? This AC is generator, we learn dynamos, generators as well. Most of the dynamos and electric generators generate alternating current. Understand? So here it's given a center zero ammeter or a center zero galvanometer can be used to identify the direction of current. We discussed this before as well, direction of the current. Okay, children, right. For extra knowledge, even though this is given under additional knowledge, this is very important. We will go through the pattern of the graphs when direct current and alternating current are plotted against time are given below, right? So when you draw a graph, you all know that there are two axes, x and y, right? So here x-axis should be, time should be the x-axis and current should be, the amount of current should be the y-axis, right? So if you draw a graph of this direct current over time, you will see something like this, a straight line, because direction is the same direction. It does not change the direction time to time, right? And look at this one, alternating current or AC. Again, time is the coming under x-axis, current coming under y-axis, and this is 0. What happens with this alternating current, children? It's not like this. It changes the direction time to time, right? So starting from 0, you can see first it goes to the minus side and plus side. You can see this is the change of direction. Understand? So the graph will be something like this, a wave-like structure. Here the graph is a straight line. Understand, children? I hope this part is very clear now. So we have come to the end of our lesson. So do you remember what we learned under this lesson? We will go see the summary of the lesson now. Right. So various types of electric sources are used in day-to-day life to obtain electricity, right? They can be mainly named as chemical cells or batteries, dynamos and solar cells. We learn 3 basic types of sources of electricity. Chemical cells, they generate electricity by chemical reactions. Dynamos, they generate electricity by moving or rotating, and solar cells generate electricity by solar energy, right? Simple cells, dry cells and alkali cells are examples for chemical cells. They all have chemical substances. A battery can be constructed by connecting several cells. We discussed about batteries. You remember we discussed that batteries can be used to obtain more electric current. I hope you remember that one, right? And more current can be drawn from a battery than from a single cell. And terminals of an electric cells are named as positive and negative terminals, right? Current flows from, we all learned that, positive terminal to negative terminal of the source of electricity, right? And dynamos consists of a magnet and a conducting coil. You remember we learned when the dynamo has a magnet, when the magnet rotates, how electricity is generated in the coil of wire, right? Current is generated in the dynamo according to the principle of electromagnetic induction. We learned that because of a magnetic field, electricity is generated in a conductor, and this principle is known as electromagnetic induction, right? And various types of dynamos are used to generate electricity in motor vehicles, bicycles, electric generators and hydropower stations. Okay? And electricity that flows to the same direction. What is the name? Yes, direct current, right? Electricity that flows to the same direction is known as direct current. Simple form, we call it DC. And that change direction with time is known as, what is the name? Alternating current or AC. Understand? So electric cells generate direct current or DC, while dynamos generate alternating current or AC. And the toxicity of disposed chemical cells create a number of issues to man and environment. Do you remember we learned about most of these chemical cells? They have some toxic substances like mercury, lead, and when we dispose these things to the environment without proper care, what will happen? They will get added to the environment and they will cause harms to the environment, right? Therefore, it should be directed for proper recycling. So, wasn't this lesson very easy, children? I hope you understand the lesson really well. So, you have to go through all the experiments that we have done, watch them again and again. But one more thing we have to do, that is our exercise. We will start our exercise now. Right, children? First, we are going to do the exercise given in the textbook. First question we will read. A student constructed the following setup using copper and zinc sheets of same size. A piece of paper soaked in dilute sulfuric acid was kept between the copper sheet and zinc sheet. Pairs made thus were placed one over the other as shown in this figure. What is this, children? You can see copper plate, zinc plate, and in between the copper and zinc plates, there's a piece of paper soaked in dilute sulfuric acid. Suggest the name for this setup. Do you remember we learned about simple cell? Now here we have the copper plate, zinc plate, and dilute sulfuric acid. They all are chemicals. Do you remember we learned the same chemicals to construct the simple cell? Right. I will show you how we use this simple cell. So, we use dilute sulfuric acid in a beaker. Dilute sulfuric acid in a beaker, and we immersed a copper sheet, and a zinc sheet. So I hope you remember we connected different components in between the zinc and copper sheets. We connected the bulb, a motor, a galvanometer, a coil of wire. Remember, children? So this is the simple cell, children. So what is this setup? You can give a name for this setup. This is the simple cell. Do you remember? We learned that when we consider the simple cell, zinc sheet is the negative terminal and copper sheet is the positive terminal. Okay? Right. So first one, suggest a name for this setup. What is the name? Simple cell. We will write the answers. Right. Simple cell. Simple cell. Name the positive and negative terminals. I already mentioned. What is the positive terminal, children? Positive terminal is the copper sheet. Copper sheet. And negative terminal is the zinc sheet. Negative terminal is the zinc sheet. Understand? Right. What can be observed when a coil is connected to terminals A and B? Do you remember we did this experiment with the simple cell and we connected the coil of wire? What happened, children? Now you can't observe anything, but I told you when I touch the coil, it gets heated up. That is because the simple cell generates electricity, right? So what can be observed when a coil is connected to terminals A and B? We will write this. Right. So the coil gets heated up. Heated up. And reason, that is because the flow of electricity goes through the coil of wire, right? Okay, we will write the reason. The setup generates electricity. When an electric current flows through the coil, it gets heated up. It gets heated up. Understand? So the coil gets heated up. That is the observation. What is the reason? The setup generates electricity. When an electric current flows through the coil, it gets heated up. Understand? Right. Number 4. Is it a direct current or an alternating current that can be obtained from the setup? We discussed that there are two different types of electric currents, alternating current or AC and direct current, which means DC, right? So I explained you that DC or direct current is generated by cells and batteries, like dry cells, simple cells, any type of cells and batteries. Okay, and so here, is it a direct current or an alternating current? Now this setup is a simple cell, a type of cell. Therefore, it generates direct current. Right, we will write direct current. Okay. 5th one. Describe briefly an experiment to confirm your answer for part 4. Right. What can we do in order to confirm that direct current flows through this setup, children? Do you remember we did this experiment with an electric motor? So we connected electric motor to dry cells. So what did you observe? The motor rotates really well, right? And then we connected the motor to a dynamo. Then what happens? It did not rotate, but it vibrates. Why can't this motor rotate when we connect it to a dynamo? That is because the dynamo generates alternating current. Understand? Therefore, it doesn't rotate, but it vibrates. So we can do the same activity with this setup to prove that this setup generates direct current. So what can we do? We can take a small electric motor and we can connect it to this setup. What will happen? As this is a cell and as it gives direct current, this motor will rotate, right? So it confirms that direct current is generated by this setup. We will write. Connect a motor with a small fan so that you can observe the rotation clearly. Motor with a small fan to the setup. Then the fan will rotate due to direct current. Within brackets I will write when a motor is connected to an alternating current, to AC supply, alternating current supply, it only vibrates. It cannot rotate. It only vibrates. Understand? So describe briefly an experiment to confirm your answer for part 4. To confirm that direct current is generated by this setup, connect a motor with a small fan to the setup. Then the fan will rotate due to direct current. When a motor is connected to AC supply, alternating current supply, it only vibrates. Understand? Next one. Draw the diagram in figure above using symbols. What is this diagram? Here it gives a simple cell. So we know what is the circuit symbol for a cell. We will draw that now. What we have to draw is the circuit symbol for the cell, electric cell. So how to draw, children? So I will draw a long line and a short line. Right? So what is this long line, children? That is the positive terminal. So what is this long line? That is the positive terminal, and the short line is the negative terminal. Understand, children? Right. We will move to the next question. Number 2, part 1. Mention 3 sources of electricity that can be used to overcome present electricity crisis. You all know that most of the time we generate electricity using hydropower plants. But during drought season, when there is no water in reservoirs, it's difficult to generate electricity using this potential energy of water. So what happens? We can switch to other methods of generation of electricity. So what are the other methods, children? You all know we can switch to solar panels. Solar panels is also a type of source of electricity. And what are the other methods? Now in hydropower plants, you all know we use a dynamo to generate electricity. So we can use dynamos in wind power plants and even in thermal power plants, right? And even using tidal waves, right? The power of the tidal waves, oceanic wave also we can rotate turbines. Understand, children? We will write them. Mention 3 sources of electricity that can be used to overcome present electricity crisis. We will write. Okay. Solar panels. Right. 3 sources of electricity. No? Therefore, the things that generate electricity. Dynamos. Work using wind. And dynamos that work using oceanic waves. Okay, children. So you can even write geothermal energy, but most of the time in Sri Lanka we can't find geothermal energy. It's very rare, right? So these things are possible. Okay. We will move to the next question. Is the main electricity supply to houses a direct current or an alternating current? So most of the time we generate electricity using dynamos. Dynamos supply what type of electricity, children? Alternating electricity, alternating current. Therefore, the answer is alternating current. Alternating current, OAC. Understand? Right. Moving to the next one. Complete the following table which is about electric sources. So look at this, the instance. The first column is instance. Lighting the headlamp of a bicycle. So the first line is completed. What is the source? Dynamo. And type of current, whether DC or AC, direct current or alternating current. Right? So lighting the headlamp of a bicycle, we use a bicycle dynamo. Right? So dynamos and electrical generates give out a alternating current. Right? Okay. So wall clock working on electricity. Wall clocks, most of the time we use dry cells. Dry cells. And AC or DC, yeah, cells and batteries, they give out direct current, right? Okay, third one, generating electricity in a hydropower station. Hydropower station, again, dynamos are used and dynamos generate alternating current. Dynamos and alternating current. Fourth one, calculator that works when light falls on it. So the calculators that work with light, they have a solar panel, small solar panel. Solar panel, and it's a type of, it's coming under cells and batteries. Direct current is generated. And starting a car, vehicle battery. We can start a car using the vehicle battery or lead acid accumulator, right? So it is definitely coming under cells and batteries, therefore generates direct current, right? We will write lead acid accumulator. Direct current. Understand? So lighting the headlamp of a bicycle is done by dynamos and dynamos generate alternating current. Wall clock working on electricity done by dry cells, and dry cells generate, and any cell or battery generates direct current. Generating electricity in a hydropower station is done by dynamos and alternating current is generated. And calculator that works when light falls on it, done by solar panels, and it generates direct current. And starting a car is done by lead acid accumulator vehicle battery. It's a type of battery, generates direct current. Understand, children? Okay, children. Now we have completed the exercise given in the textbook. Now we are going to do some additional exercises in order to improve our knowledge. Exercise number 1. Underline the correct answer. Question number 1. Appliances that generate electricity are called, or things that generate electricity are known as sources of electricity. Right? Electric cells, electric generator, they are not coming under sources. They are examples for sources of electricity. And electric current, no. They are for sources of electricity is the answer. Next one. A direct current cannot be obtained by. What are the instances we can generate direct current by using cells and batteries? So what are the instances that we cannot generate direct current? If you use electric generator or a dynamo, alternating current can be generated but not direct current. We will go through the answers. Simple cell, we can generate direct current, right? Dynamo, yes, using dynamos we can't generate direct current but alternating current. Solar panels come in under cells and batteries, therefore direct current is generated. And vehicle battery, direct current. So the answer, a direct current cannot be obtained by, what is the answer? Dynamo. Number 3. The positive and negative terminals of a simple cell respectively in order. What is the positive and negative terminal? Do you remember what are the two different types of metals we use to construct a simple cell? We used a copper sheet and a zinc sheet. So we use copper sheet as the positive terminal, zinc sheet as the negative terminal, right? So positive and negative terminals in order should be copper sheet and zinc sheet. Answer number 1. Number 2, iron and copper? No. Copper sheet and iron sheet? No, iron we don't use. And here zinc and copper sheets, we use both of these sheets, two different types of metals, but the order is not correct here. Positive and negative terminals respectively in order. Therefore, copper sheet and zinc sheet. Answer number 1. Okay. 4th one. The equipment used to measure the amount of electric current. We did many experiments using these type of equipment to measure the amount of electricity generated. What are the different types of equipment we can use, children? Basically, we can use ammeters. But in order to measure small electric currents, we can use galvanometers and milliammeters as well. We will go through the answers. Voltmeter, dynamo, resistor, no. You can't measure electricity using this equipment, but ammeter, that is right. Okay. Number 5. The component that can convert light energy to electrical energy. Remember, what type of component uses solar energy to generate electricity? Solar panels, solar cells and solar panels, right? Dynamo, simple cell, car battery, no. The answer is solar cell. Okay. Number 6. The chemicals contained in a car battery. Do you remember I explained that another name for car battery or vehicle battery is lead acid accumulator, right? That is because it has two chemicals, lead and dilute sulfuric acid. That is why that battery is known as lead acid accumulator. So, lead and dilute sulfuric acid. Okay, children, we will move to the second question now. Exercise 2. Recall how you constructed the apparatus used to generate electricity using a lime fruit. Do you remember? We took a lime fruit, we pressed it thoroughly, and then we inserted a copper sheet and a zinc sheet, right? The two ends of these sheets were connected to the galvanometer. You can even use millimeters, right? I hope you remember this activity. Name the things used as the positive and negative terminals. We used a copper sheet and a zinc sheet. So what is the positive terminal? Copper sheet. Negative terminal is the zinc sheet. We will write that. Name the things used as the positive and negative terminals. Positive terminal. Positive terminal is copper sheet. And negative terminal is the zinc sheet. Okay. Number 2. What was the component connected to the apparatus to prove that electricity is generated by the lime fruit? I mentioned that to the two ends of these terminals we connected a galvanometer or even a millimeter. So what happens? This setup generates electricity. When that electric current passes through the galvanometer, the indicator deflects, right? So we can prove that the only instance where this galvanometer indicator deflects is when an electric current passes through it. So we can come to a conclusion that galvanometer indicator deflects because electricity is generated by this setup, right? We will write then. So what was the component connected to the apparatus to prove that electricity is generated by the lime fruit? That is the galvanometer. Galvanometer, or even can be used the millimeter. Right? Galvanometer, millimeter. And before the experiment, the lime fruit should be pressed thoroughly. What is the reason? While I was doing the experiment, I told you, you have to press the lime fruit thoroughly. What is the reason? I told you that when you consider the lime fruit, there are pocket-like structures. These are known as citrus kernel, right? Citrus kernels. Now, this acidic substance, the lime juice is present inside these pocket-like structures. So, we have to take this acid is citric acid. You have to take this acid out of these pocket-like structures. That's why you have to press this lime fruit thoroughly, right? So, before the experiment, the lime fruit should be pressed thoroughly. What is the reason for this? That is because to take out the acid out of these citrus kernels, right? Or another name, juice vesicles. Okay. So, then only, because now we are going to construct something similar to the simple cell. So, any type of cells or batteries generate electricity using chemical substances. So, here we use the chemicals, copper sheet, zinc sheet and the citric acid. So, citric acid should be taken out of its pocket-like structures. Okay, we will write to take lime juice. We will write citric acid. Citric acid out of the citrus kernels or juice vesicles. Understand? To take lime juice or citric acid out of the citrus kernels or juice vesicles. What are these citrus kernels? These pocket-like structures. These are the citrus kernels. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Can we consider this apparatus as a cell? Can we? Yes, we can. This is something similar to the simple cell, right? Yes. Give reasons for the above answer. Why can we consider this as a cell? Because this setup generates electricity using chemical reactions, chemical substances, right? There are chemical substances present here, copper sheet, zinc sheet, lime juice or citric acid present. They react with each other and electricity is generated, right? So because electricity is generated using chemical reactions, we can consider this setup as a cell, right? So give reasons for the above answer. Because electricity is generated in this setup using chemical reactions. Okay, right. Because electricity is generated in this setup using chemical reactions. Right. Next one. Draw the circuit symbol of a cell. Very easy. We already discussed about this. Right. Circuit symbol, long line and a short line. So what is the long line? The positive terminal. Short line is the negative terminal. This is positive and this is negative. Right. Okay, children. I hope this part is very clear now. We will move to the next question. So additional exercise 3, complete the following table. We will go through this. We have 3 columns, instance, source of electricity, and you have to mention whether direct or alternating current is generated by the source of electricity. First instance, lighting the lamp of a bicycle. How do we light the headlamp of a bicycle? Using dynamo. Source of electricity is dynamo. AC or DC? Alternating current. AC, right? Alternating current. Alternating current. Okay. Next one. Generating electricity in a hydropower plant. Hydropower plants also use large dynamos. Again, alternating current. Dynamo, alternating current. Number 3. Activation of a wristwatch by sunlight. If it uses sunlight to generate electricity, it means it uses solar cells or solar panels. We will write that. Solar panels. And direct or alternating? Direct current. Direct current. Lighting a torch. When you light a torch, you use dry cells. So when you use dry cells, direct current is generated. Dry cells, direct current. Starting a vehicle. We start a vehicle using the vehicle battery or lead acid accumulator. So it's a type of battery. Batteries and cells generate direct currents. lead acid accumulator. Direct current. Okay, children. So this one is really easy, right? Remember, when you do all these activities, try to do these activities, all these exercises before me. So you can take your time and write answers for all these activities, and when I explain the answers, you can mark your answers. Okay, that is the best way to study this lesson. Right, we will move to the next one. Additional exercise 4. Draw a labeled diagram of a simple cell with a bulb connected to it. Now you all know how to do this. We discussed about the simple cell many times. We will do this one. Right. So you all know that in order to construct a simple cell, you need a beaker with dilute sulfuric acid. And you have to immerse a copper sheet and a zinc sheet in this dilute sulfuric acid. And it's very important when you draw this diagram that these two sheets, these two metal sheets, should not touch each other. Right? Okay. Right. And you have to connect a bulb. I will draw the bulb like this. Okay. Draw a label diagram, therefore we have to label this as well. And we'll label with a different color. So this is the beaker. And what is this acid? Dilute sulfuric acid. Dilute sulfuric acid. And zinc sheet. And the copper sheet. This is the bulb. Okay, children. So what is the positive and negative terminal of this simple cell? Copper sheet is the positive terminal. Zinc sheet is the negative terminal. We will mark that as well. Okay. What are the observations? Now you have to connect a bulb to this simple cell and you have to observe. What are the observations that can be drawn after a little while connecting the apparatus? So after connecting the apparatus like this, after connecting this simple cell to the bulb like this, what will you observe after a little while? We did this experiment. Initially, the bulb illuminates, it lights up. But after a little while, what happens? The bulb goes off. Remember, children, when we connect a small motor to this one, initially it starts rotating, but after a little while, it stops rotating. Okay, I hope you remember the observations. We did this experiment. So, what are the observations that can be drawn after a little while connecting the apparatus? What can you see? The bulb goes off. Right? We will write that. The bulb goes off. What are the other observations? Do you remember the gas bubbles also formed? Gas bubbles form. Okay, so these are the observations. The bulb goes off, gas bubbles form. We will move to the next one. What can you decide by it? So when you connect this electric bulb to the simple cell, initially it illuminates, but after a little while it goes off. What happens? It means even though initially this setup generates electricity, that flow of electric current will not last for a long time, right? So it means this setup or this simple cell cannot provide a continuous flow of electric current. Okay, so we will write, what can you decide by it? That continuous flow of electric current cannot be obtained by this setup. Okay, what can you decide by it? That a continuous flow of electric current cannot be obtained by this setup. Next one, what can you observe when the bulb is replaced by a coil of wire? Coil of wire, when the bulb is replaced by the coil of wire, that flow of electricity or this electric current flows through the coil. So what happens? The coil gets heated up, right? The coil gets heated up. Right. Okay. What can you observe when the bulb is replaced by a coil of wire? Instead of the bulb, you have to connect a coil of wire to the two terminals of the simple cell. Then the coil gets heated up. We will move to the next one. Number 1. Today simple cells are not in use. What is the reason for this? We discussed this one as well, right? We don't use the simple cells because the simple cell cannot provide a continuous flow of electricity. There are many weaknesses in the simple cell, right? The main weakness is we cannot obtain a continuous flow of electric current when we use the simple cell. We will write, what is the reason? A continuous flow of electric current cannot be obtained by the simple cell. Right. A continuous flow of electric current cannot be obtained by the simple cell. Right. Mention the weaknesses of the simple cell. What are the weaknesses? Now, this is the main weakness. We cannot obtain a continuous flow of electric current. What are the other weaknesses? Because this simple cell contains a liquid. It contains dilute sulfuric acid in a beaker. So, it's not portable. It's very difficult to handle. That is the other reason, right? And what are the other reasons what are the other weaknesses that we can't use this simple cell? Another weakness is zinc plate. When we immerse the zinc plate in this liquid, dilute sulfuric acid, it starts to dissolve rapidly. It reacts with the acid and it starts to dissolve rapidly. That is the other reason. We will mention the weaknesses. Number 1. We will write in short form. Cannot obtain a continuous flow of electric current. So I explained you this happens because of deposition of gas bubbles. Electric current. Number 2. Difficult to handle as it contains a liquid. Number 3, zinc plate dissolves rapidly. Understand? Cannot obtain a continuous flow of electric current, difficult to handle as it contains a liquid, and zinc plate dissolves rapidly. We will move to the next question. Right. Exercise number 6. Number 1. How many terminals are there in an electric source? So most of these electric sources, they have positive and negative terminals. So how many terminals? 2 terminals. We will write 2 terminals. And what are they? Positive and negative terminals. Positive terminal. Number 1, positive terminal. Negative terminal. Okay. Number 3. What is the negative terminal of a simple cell? Now, we all know that simple cell is constructed by using a copper sheet, a zinc sheet, and dilute sulfuric acid. So, you have to immerse this copper and zinc sheets in this dilute sulfuric acid, and then it will start to generate electricity. Right? So, copper sheet acts as the positive terminal and zinc sheet acts as the negative terminal. Right? So, what is the negative terminal of a simple cell? That is the zinc sheet. Right. So, I hope this part is very clear. We will move to the next one. What is a battery? What is a battery, children? Do you remember we did this activity? We connected a torch bulb to one dry cell. Right, and when we observed the brightness of the bulb, and then we connected the same bulb to a set of cells. It means a combination of cells. So what happens to the brightness? The brightness increases. Okay, so combination of several cells. Combination of several cells is known as a battery. The second setup is a battery. Right. So cell is a single unit. Battery is made by combining 2 or more cells. Right? So, explain the difference between a cell and a battery. When you consider the power given by the battery, it gives more power, more electric current. That is because if we consider one cell, it can give a particular amount of electric current. But when we combine more than 2 or more cells, what happens? When we combine 2 or more cells, we can obtain more current, right? We will write the answers. What is a battery? A setup made by combining several cells. What is a battery? A setup made by combining several cells, 2 or more cells. Explain the difference between a cell and a battery. A battery provides more power. More power. Power means here electricity. Than a cell. Okay. A battery provides more power than a cell. Okay. We will move to the next one. Okay. Exercise number 8. Connect a center 0 galvanometer and a motor to 2 dry cells as given below. Now we did this experiment as well, right? I'm sure you remember this activity. So we can use a milliammeter or center zero galvanometer or center zero milliammeter for this experiment, and you have to connect two dry cells, and from the other side you have to connect a motor with a small fan, right? Now change the terminals of the cells and observe. We did this, right? So earlier you can see negative terminals this side, positive terminals this side. Now you have to change the terminals of the cells. Now positive this side, negative the other side. What happened? Do you remember the observation of this experiment? Now when we connect the apparatus like this, you will see the fan of this motor, it rotates and it rotates to a certain direction. And the indicator of the milliammeter also moves to one direction, right, to one side. So when you change the terminals of the cells, what happens, children? Now this time the small fan will rotate to the opposite direction. And what will happen to the indicator of this milliammeter or galvanometer? Now this time it will move to the other side, the opposite side than this one, right? We will go to the questions part. What are the observations that can be drawn during the above two activities? We will write. Now we know what happens. In the second instance, the small fan rotates to the opposite direction. And the indicator of the galvanometer, or you can even write milliammeter, galvanometer also moves to the opposite direction. Okay. In the second instance, the small fan rotates to the opposite direction and the indicator of the galvanometer also moves to the opposite direction than the first instance. Okay. What is the reason for these observations? What is the reason, children? Now we know that when we consider electric current, there is a specific direction to this flow of electricity, right? That is from the positive to negative terminal through the circuit. Center zero galvanometer and motor connected like this. You all can see this side is the positive terminal, this side is the negative terminal. So what is the direction of flow of electricity, children? Positive to negative terminal through the circuit, right? Positive to negative terminal through the circuit. Understand? But here what happens? The same setup is here, but this time this side is the positive side, this side is the negative side. So the direction of the flow of electricity also changes. Now here what happens? Positive to, now the electricity flows from positive to negative terminal through the circuit again. Understand? So that is why it changes the direction of rotation of the fan and it changes the direction of movement of the indicator. Okay, so we can come to a conclusion that there is a specific direction to the flow of electricity. We will write. So what is the reason for the above observations? We will write because there is a specific direction to the flow of an electric current. We will write the direction within brackets, positive to negative side. Positive terminal to the negative terminal. Okay, because there's a specific direction to the flow of an electric current, it is from positive to negative terminals. Okay, we will do the next question. Write down some of the devices that are powered by solar cells. There are many devices. What are the devices? Wristwatches are there, and some calculators are there, right? Some toys and some vehicles. We will write them. Wristwatches, calculators, some toys, and some vehicles. You can write many examples here, right? Write down the energy conversion that takes place in a solar cell. Energy conversion. Which type of energy is converted to electrical energy? What happens, children? Solar energy is converted to electricity, right? So how to write that? What is the energy conversion? How to write the energy conversion? You can write solar energy is converted to electrical energy or electricity. Electrical energy. So what is the energy conversion that takes place in solar cells? Solar energy to electrical energy. Right? Okay. Next one. Number 1. What is the electrical source used to power the bicycle headlights? How do we power the bicycle headlights? Using a bicycle dynamo. Using a dynamo. Right. What are the other instances where dynamos are used to generate? Other than using it in bicycles, what are the other instances? You all know in hydropower plants, in thermal power plants, we can use dynamos. What are the other instances? We explained that fuel-driven generators also use these type of things. We will write. Right? Other instances. In hydropower plants, thermal power plants, fuel-driven generators, okay. Next one. What are the factors affecting the efficiency of a dynamo? Do you remember we did some activities to find out what are the factors affecting the amount of electricity generated by these dynamos? Do you remember we connected an electric bulb to a dynamo setup or the dynamo model, and we rotated it slowly, right? And we increased the speed of rotation. What happens when we rotate with high speed? The bulb lights with more brightness. It means more electricity is generated when we increase the speed of rotation. Okay, so what are the factors? That is one factor affecting efficiency of a dynamo. Here efficiency means the amount of electricity generated. What are the other factors? I told you sometimes we can use more powerful magnets. You all know that in the dynamos, magnets are present. So when we use more powerful magnets, what happens? It can generate more electricity. What are the other things? We all know that in dynamos, I hope you remember the bicycle dynamo. So in the bicycle dynamo, the turning wheel is connected to this is the magnet. So next to the magnet, a coil of wire is present. Right? So what happens? When the magnet rotates, the coil of wire generates electricity. Now this is a headlamp and the headlamp lights up. Do you remember using that special activity I explained that when number of turns of the coil of wire increases, more electric power is generated. So that is the third factor affecting the efficiency of a dynamo. We will write them. Okay. So we will write number 1, number of turns in the coil. Number of turns in the coil. Number 2, speed of rotation. Right? When number of turns increases, efficiency also increases. When speed of rotation increases, efficiency also increases. And number 3, how powerful the magnet is. How powerful it affects on how powerful the magnet is. Right? So if you use more powerful magnet, efficiency also increases. Okay, children. So what are the factors affecting the efficiency of a dynamo? Number of turns in the coil and speed of rotation and how powerful the magnet we use it. Understand? Right. What is a direct current? We discussed that there are 2 different types of electric currents, direct current and alternating current. Direct current means an electric current that flows to the same direction with time. So what is an alternating current? Alternating current changes the direction time to time. Okay, we will write what is a direct current? An electric current. An electric current that flows to the same direction with time. What is a direct current? An electric current that flows to the same direction with time. Next one. Which type of electric current is generated by dry cells and batteries? That is direct current. Right? Dry cells and batteries generate direct current. That is the reason when we connected this electric motor to the dry cells, what happened? It rotates to the same direction. Okay? We will write. That is direct current. Direct current. Next one. What are the electric sources that generate alternating current? Yes, dynamos and electric generators. We will write. Dynamos and generators. Dynamos and generators. Okay? The next question. Draw the pattern of the graph resulted when direct current is plotted against time. Do you remember we learned under extra knowledge, we learned these 2 graphs, but I hope you remember this one. Right? We will draw direct current, when you draw the graph, so you have to take, this is the x-axis, this is the time, and this is current. What is the shape, children? You observe that it is a straight line, right? It is a straight line. Understand? So draw the pattern of the graph resulted when direct current is plotted against time. Direct current doesn't change the direction. It flows to the same direction. So if you plot a graph, it will look like this. The next one. Draw the pattern of the graph resulted when alternating current is plotted against time. We will draw that as well. So again, this is time and current. What will happen this time? Alternating current changes the direction time to time. With time, it changes the direction. So the graph will look like this. Okay, children. Direct current flows to the same direction. Therefore, graph will be a straight line, and alternating current, as it changes the time, it will look like this. We will move to the next one. Right. Mention the method of generation of electricity by the following appliances. What are these appliances, children? These are some sources of electricity. We have a dynamo. This is a type of battery. This is a solar panel. But this is the lead-acid accumulator, vehicle battery. So how do they generate electricity? We all know that dynamos and generators, they generate electricity by rotating or moving, right? And when we consider batteries and cells, they have chemical substances. Therefore, by chemical reactions, these type of appliances generate electricity, right? What about the solar cells? Solar cells, they convert the solar energy to electricity. So by using solar energy, they generate electricity. And this is also a type of battery, lead-acid accumulator. Then again, it has chemicals, and because of chemical reactions, electricity is generated. We will write. Okay. So under this one, this is a dynamo. Electricity is generated by rotating or moving. Batteries by chemical reactions. Chemical reactions. And solar cells, solar panels by solar energy. And lead-acid accumulator or vehicle battery, again by chemical reactions. Understand? Dynamos by rotating or moving. This is a type of battery by chemical reactions. Solar panels by solar energy. Vehicle batteries by chemical reactions. We will move to the next one. Right. Exercise 14. Number 1. What is the direction of current flowing from an electric source? We know that there are two terminals in electric sources. What are they? Positive and negative terminals. So what is the direction of flow of electricity? Positive to negative terminal through the circuit. We will write. So what is the direction? From the positive terminal, to the negative terminal, through the circuit. from the positive terminal to the negative terminal through the circuit. Next one. A simple circuit is given below. Mark the direction of electric current that flows through the circuit using arrows. Right? So we know that the direction of current is from the positive terminal to the negative terminal through the circuit. So what is the positive terminal? You all can see this is the positive terminal of the cell and this is the negative terminal. So what happens? Electric current flows from positive to negative terminal through the circuit. So we will mark it using arrows. Okay, children, direction is from positive to negative terminal through the circuit. Okay. Next one. A diagram of a LED bulb is given below. Mark the positive and negative terminals of it. How do you identify what is the positive terminal and what is the negative terminal of the LED bulb? It has two wires like this. The long side is the positive side, the short side is the negative side. So this is the positive terminal and this is the negative terminal. Understand? So it has a positive and negative terminals mentioned here. It means when you connect the LED bulb to the circuit, you have to connect it correctly. Otherwise, this LED bulb will not illuminate. Okay. Number 2. The way an LED is connected to two dry cells is given below. Does the LED illuminate or not? Give reasons for your answer. Look at this one. You can see, now when you take these two cells, this part present, this tiny part present in the positive side, positive terminal. So it means this side is the negative terminal. Okay. Look at the way this LED bulb is connected. Now I told you LED bulb has two terminals, positive and negative terminals. Okay. So positive terminal of the LED should be connected to the positive terminal of the dry cell and negative to negative sides. But here what happens? Now this long side is the positive terminal. This is the positive terminal. This is the negative terminal. You can clearly see positive terminal of the LED is connected to the negative terminal of the dry cell, and here negative terminal of the LED is connected to the positive terminal of this dry cell. It means positive and negative terminals are not connected correctly. So what happens? Does the LED illuminate or not? I told you if you don't connect these two terminals correctly, this will not illuminate. Right? So we will write the LED does not illuminate. Does not illuminate. Right? Give reasons. What is the reason? Because the terminals of the LED are not connected to the circuit correctly. We will write because the terminals of the LED are not connected to the circuit correctly. That is the reason. Okay? The LED does not illuminate because the terminals of the LED are not connected to the circuit correctly. Okay? We will move to the next one. First one. Explain the difference between solar cells and solar panels. What is a solar panel? We make the solar panel using a lot of solar cells, number of solar cells. That is because the electricity generated by one solar cell is not enough. Right? So solar panels are made by combining large number of solar cells. What is the other difference? So because the solar panel contains number of solar cells, it provides more electricity. We will write. Explain the difference between solar cells and solar panels. Solar panels are made by combining number of solar cells. And solar panel generates more electricity. Solar panels are made by combining number of solar cells, and solar panel generates more electricity, more electric current than a solar cell. Right? Mention 4 appliances that use solar panels. We all know. We will write wristwatches. Calculators. What else? Some toys. Some vehicles. Okay? We discussed this part before as well. We will move to the next question. Okay, number 17. Diagram of a bicycle dynamo is given below. Name the parts A to F. We learned this before. We will start from A. What is A, children? A is the turning wheel. Now this part touches with the bicycle tire. So when we ride the bicycle, what happens? This part rotates. Okay? This is the turning wheel. What is B? B is the metal rod, right? Metal rod. And C? C is the insulated copper wire. And 2 ends of the wire, they come out from 2 places, and we can connect a headlamp to the 2 ends of the coil. Okay? So C is the insulated copper coil. Here D, terminal. E is the, what is this? To the turning wheel, a permanent magnet is connected. Right? This is the permanent magnet. Is E. What about F? Now F, this side is the other side of this metal rod. Therefore, F is also metal rod. Okay. A is turning wheel, B is metal rod, C is insulated copper coil, D is the terminal, E is the permanent magnet, and F is the also metal rod. Now we will move to the next question. So this is the last question. Read this one. A dry cell and a dynamo is connected to a motor as given below. Write the observations and conclusion under each instance. Do you remember we did this very same experiment? What happens when you connect the dry cell to the motor? There's a small fan connected to the motor. What happens? It rotates continuously. Okay? So what is the reason? What is the conclusion? This fan rotates continuously because this dry cell generates direct current. We will write. Observation. The small fan rotates continuously. Conclusion: dry cell generates direct current. Understand? So when you connect a small motor with a fan to a dry cell, the small fan rotates continuously, right? Conclusion: dry cell generates direct current. Okay. What about the other side? When you connect this motor with a small fan to the dynamo and when you rotate this part of the dynamo, what happens? Can you see any rotation of the fan? No. What did you observe then? You observe that the small fan only vibrates. Okay. What is the reason? That is because the dynamo generates alternating current. Understand? Okay, we will write. The small fan doesn't rotate, it only vibrates. Conclusion: the dynamo generates alternating current or AC. Alternating current. Okay. So observation: the small fan doesn't rotate, it only vibrates. Conclusion: the dynamo generates alternating current. So I hope this part is very clear. Right, children. So we have come to an end of this lesson. So under this lesson, we learned that how electricity is generated. There are different methods of generation of electricity, right? We did a lot of experiments under this lesson and we even did our activities, our exercise. So you can watch the experiments that we did again and again, so you will understand it better and also answer the questions many times. So you can understand this lesson really well.